I'm Duncan, and I am talking to Peter. Peter, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Peter. I'm a composer and a conductor.
So, we are going on a bit of a journey that I'm going to let Peter talk about. So, Peter, what is it that you're doing?
I am in the process of writing a symphony, and I am looking to document that process here on Instagram.
So, Peter, why are you writing a symphony?
Well, in the past, I've written a good deal of music, some of it quite small scale, nothing basically on the size of a symphony, and I feel I'm ready for the challenge. The symphony, if you like, is like the Mount Everest of classical instrumental music. It's quite an ascent, but I feel I've got a lot of stuff behind me, and I feel I'm ready for the challenge.
Why do you feel it's so important to share this experience?
The reason is that this type of activity, the creation of something artistic, I think to most people it feels very nebulous, very like, how did that piece of music appear? How did that painting appear? We don't have any clear guidelines as to how somebody does these things. So I think it might be quite interesting to try to get under the hood of how something like a symphony is actually created.
Who do you think would benefit most from watching this journey?
I think all sorts of people will find this journey interesting. I hope so. So there could be a professional musician who's got a real interest in composition. Or it could be just somebody who thinks, well, I like listening to music, but I've got no idea how it's put together, how a composer actually goes about putting the nuts and bolts of this thing together so that it creates the sound that I know.
So this could be appeal to someone like me. Just for clarity, I am not a musician. I am not a composer, so I'm not a musical person. I'm literally just somebody who's along for the journey too and documenting it. What exactly is a symphony?
Generally agreed definition of a symphony is that it's a large-scale classical music piece, usually for an orchestra. So it's instrumental rather than vocal, in other words. And it's quite substantial. So we're talking probably 30 to 40 minutes. Some symphonies are even a good deal longer than that, but probably no less than about 30 minutes. The tradition of the thing brings up names like Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, Mahler. Some of the better known classical composers have really gone into the symphony in a big way. It's really exciting to think I'm writing something in the tradition of these guys, that something that they did many, many years ago, I'm still within that tradition. So writing music is a combination for me of two elements. One, if you like, is inspiration, the other perspiration. The inspiration bit is rather magic and difficult to define. So there's sort of a moment sometimes when a tune pops up in my head. I could not tell you from where it has came. The same sort of thing as when I wake up in the morning and find myself humming something. I've got no idea why sometimes. And then the other side to it is taking something like a tune that's popped up in my head and making something of it. That takes work, that takes thought, that takes the application of a lot of sort of musical knowledge that I've acquired over the years. And it's always a mixture of those two things. The inspiration, the magic, on the one hand, won't get me very far. But without that, I've got nothing to work on. So it needs to be a mixture of those two things.
What's the goal?
The immediate goal is that on the 9th of December, there's going to be a performance in London of this symphony. And the thought of that is really engaging for me. This is not an academic exercise. I'm just writing a symphony. I'm going to tell you all about it on Instagram. This is a real event that is going to happen in December, and I am so looking forward to that realisation of this process.